nothing to vote on.
Toby Oaf, T-O-B-Y, E-O-F-F. How many people
Gary
are on this
Johnson.
phone?
And there's supposed to be 10. But I can only ever name 9. Each of the council members has an appointment, and then each of the taxing entities has an appointment. All right, he's on there. Talk to Gavin. I think he's going to be here.
I think I saw him out in his car,
Yeah.
on the phone, so. Who were you at lunch with? I didn't get a chance
So
to.
that was Stacy Gross and her colleague Sandy, I think. I just met her this morning as well. She started the Midland Pop Spot, which is a kind of a pop-up shopping experience, and they do it at the conference center over in Midland. And she has grown to, I think she said it's in 6 cities now. They do one in Austin, Fort Worth, and they want to do one in Odessa at the hotel, which will be next September. I think they're on the date. And in the meantime, they're going to do one.
Monica, can you hear us?
They're going to do one at the Rose Building.
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Perfect, thank you.
Y'all were booked, so we had to go somewhere else. But the byproduct is supporting local nonprofits. So
That's awesome.
she donated about $25,000 last year
That's great.
to locals. So we had lunch because she wants to do some things with the food bank, and I said, well, you need to come meet Toby and Sandra, whoever can. So we had a great visit this morning, and y'all are going to do some sponsorship in Midland, and then we'll work out something for the September one.
Perfect.
Over here. But what she's thinking is doing about a 30 booth deal with the Devonian, and then maybe
He was on
doing
it.
like a man cave.
Then he moved to a
walk-in,
different board.
and then have, could spell out
He was having trouble
every-
making the meetings,
Mary Market, but they're
and counties giving me leeway to come over. They said no problem.
Yeah, that'll be super.
So they're it's a good show. I've been to the one they
Hi, Gavin.
benefited us last year.
Hi.
Went over, kind of poked around, but it's a little higher than Mary Market.
That's great.
What do you
say, John?
Oh, well. Yes. Shocking. I know, it doesn't ever work. But yeah, trying to figure out how to do kind of shop and stay. If you can get the
How you been?
VIP
Fine.
preview party.
How about
get
you?
all
Been busy?
Midlanders to come over and do some,
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
run some business through there.
That's awesome.
I'm trying.
2, 3,
You
4, 5,
you get
6,
free
7,
advertising.
Okay.
8.
At once it was executive platinum for life.
Is Dale still on?
Is this all of us?
Dale.
Is Dale? Dale
Oh.
still on? Dale Jenkins?
Okay.
Dale who? Oh,
Jenkins.
I remember that, yeah. The guy that's gonna make me beautiful.
I'm sorry?
The guy that's gonna make me
Don had texted me and said he was on his way, so I don't know if he's there yet. I can't
Yes,
see, but,
he's here.
there he is. I see his hand over there. Okay.
You have to reach over. There you go. Well, I'm happy to start. Can we start early a minute, or do I have to wait? They,
Yeah, you need
well,
to wait.
go
till
bring
the-
that clock back in here with seconds on it. All right, let's go. We're all here and nothing to vote on, so. So I will call the meeting to order at 3 o'clock, and you all should have received a copy of the minutes in your packets. Were there any questions on those from the last meeting? So then I will entertain a motion to approve the
Make
minutes.
a motion that we approve the minutes from last meeting.
And a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. All right. Number 2, we have Kimley Horn for a master plan update. Looks like Monica's here with us.
Hello, everyone. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, hello.
Hello. Yeah, so thanks again for having me back. We've done a lot of great progress since the last time I checked in here at the board, and we definitely saw multiple of you guys at the charrette last month. So we're excited to share just this update on kind of summarizing our findings from what we heard at the charrette, as well as next steps for the final report. So Randy, you can go to the next slide. So like I said, we're going to start just with a brief progress update, as well as going through the final survey results. The social pinpoint survey, we closed it 1 week after the charrette. So we have those final results. Just an overview. We're going to go into more detail with it in the final report, but we just wanted to give you guys a high level look at kind of the trends that we saw. We are going to go through just the charrette and the takeaways that we got from that. We got some really great ideas from the public that we're going to work on in that final report. So we just thought we'd present kind of our skeleton outline of what we're planning to have in that report, as well as talk about the next steps for the project. So this is a slide that you guys are probably familiar with at this point, but you know, last time we checked in, we were just before phase 2, and we have now completed phase 2, which was, of course, that workshop. And we are now in the middle of phase 3, which is that update and final report, as well as adoption. So the online survey, like I mentioned before, our plan was to keep that open until 1 week after the final workshop. So we closed it on September 23rd. And overall, we got 191 written survey responses, which is a really, really strong number. We're very happy with that level of engagement. And just a few statistics that we got from the survey. 93% of survey responders said that they live in Odessa, but outside of downtown. The largest age groups that we got responses from were the 31 to 50 age group, as well as the 51 to 74. And then 68% of responders have lived in Odessa for 20 years or longer. That was a really interesting statistic to us. It basically shows that the majority of people who are providing this input, it's all people who are well familiar with the city of Odessa. They've lived here, you know, for a large portion of their lives, and they care deeply about what happens in downtown. So we thought that was a really neat statistic to point out there. And then in addition to that, 50% of responders say that they visit downtown once a month or more, which, considering the year that we've had, year and a half that we've had, we thought that was really a strong statistic as well. People are coming to downtown regularly on business. And as we'll talk about in the future, there are maybe some opportunities to increase visits for entertainment purposes. So you can go to the next slide. So one of the items that we asked people about was their satisfaction with various items within downtown. So this is just a quick summary of some of the trends that we saw. So overall, people are satisfied with the special events in downtown. They feel safe in downtown. They're satisfied with that. And they also are satisfied with the level of traffic in downtown, which are all really great, strong points that we want to make sure to preserve. Some of the items that they're not satisfied with are options for shopping, general appearance, as well as public spaces. And so those are all items that we're looking to find direct solutions for in this master plan update. And then items that people were unsure about, this either means that they were truly unsure, they hadn't thought about it, or items that people were kind of divided on if they were satisfied or unsatisfied. So there's mixed opinions on the dining options in downtown. I will say when we were there for the workshop, we did get to try several local restaurants in downtown that we really enjoyed. So just any way that we can encourage more development such as that, I think would help maybe sway that more into the satisfied opinion. People were definitely unsure about housing options. I think that definitely came up in that first session. For any of you guys who were there, that was an option that multiple people mentioned that they were, kind of unaware of, or just they had never thought about downtown as a place to live. And so that was definitely an opportunity that we are going to try to capitalize on in the master plan update. And then finally, wayfinding was that final option that people were unsure about. And so then the final slide we have here, just to recap the online survey, this is just a word cloud that we put together based on the question prompt, which was, what is one word you want to use to describe downtown in the future? And we just really liked the responses that we saw here. We like seeing these kinds of trends. We've got vibrant, exciting, happening, unique, thriving. So, we just really felt like that was, great feedback from the public. People want to see downtown develop. They want activity, and we're excited to help you guys achieve that in the future. So this next slide, this is just a recap. This was the schedule that we had for the 3-day workshop. Overall, we hosted 9 sessions, with the final one being a presentation of ideas. So about 8 sessions that were geared more towards public input, and the 9th one there to just kind of recap our findings. So we did a downtown walking tour on that first day. We had a developer workshop on Wednesday. That was an online session, just to hear about what the feedback was from developers in downtown. We got lots of great stakeholder feedback and interviews. And we also were able to identify some catalytic projects that are happening in downtown as well, so we can make sure to update that land use plan and make sure that we're capitalizing on those projects. So then on to our takeaways, so that this graphic probably looks familiar if you were at that final presentation, but we're basically using this graphic to kind of work as a skeleton outline of the final report. And this is by no means all of the main sections that we're going to have, but these were kind of the main takeaways that we saw right out the gate at the charrette. So we have about 6 major ideas here that all kind of feed into one core purpose, which, kind of almost goes without saying, but that core purpose is to establish downtown as a destination. So one of the strengths that we saw in downtown Odessa right now was all of the employment centers, so you have the courthouse, all of the government buildings, the supporting businesses to those. And so, we've got downtown established as a place to work. Now we want to establish it more as a place to seek entertainment, evening activities, restaurants, as well as a place to live. So establishing that identity as a destination is going to be really important. And we really felt like all these major ideas kind of feed into that. So the 6 major ideas, I don't have 6 full slides after this, just because I didn't want to take up too much of y'all's time, but they do kind of work into pairs here. So just some of the major ideas we had were branding and marketing for downtown, and that fits into that identity component. So establishing downtown as a singular destination instead of just one business that you might be visiting. Pedestrian scale design and wayfinding, those go together really well. So that just has to do with the streetscaping. Let's build upon the successes of downtown so far and make sure that we're improving other streets as well to expand upon that. And then we also have a recommendation in there for cultural and art integration. We had a really great discussion with the Odessa Arts group while we were there for the charrette, and they gave us some great ideas on programs that they have coming up that incorporate into downtown. And then as well, we do have a major takeaway as well as how to maximize those partnerships. So this just has to do with a general governance approach and how to establish better kind of communication between all of the various groups that are working to improve downtown Odessa and kind of unite all those voices together to maximize our resources. So, and then we do have one catalytic project area that we're excited about that we identified in that charrette was the Jackson Avenue and Grant Avenue area. And I've got a great graphic later on in this presentation that will go into detail for that. So this first major takeaway, the pedestrian scale improvements and wayfinding, like I mentioned, we did a few visual preference surveys while at the charrette that basically gave members of the public different options as to what style, kind of what identity they see for downtown. And it definitely was leaning more toward the contemporary style, which I think, complements really well the West Texas environment. People like the kind of more modern looks. So That was good feedback. The street lighting was a common thing that we were hearing as an opportunity to improve. So getting that pedestrian scale street lighting with also opportunities for banners possibly to help businesses advertise. And that could also possibly work as a source of revenue for the city if you have local businesses renting out that banner space to advertise their business. And then as well, creative pavement materials and patterns. One thing that we really saw as a benefit in downtown was the improvements along that medical corridor. And so bringing those kinds of materials into other parts of downtown to really unify that centralized theme. And there was opportunities for tree wells. There's already some existing tree wells that we saw in downtown on that walking tour. So we were brainstorming different ways that we could possibly improve those. Some design ideas that were used at first maybe didn't work out. So how can we learn from our lessons and move forward with better design? You can go to the next slide. Awesome. So that next takeaway, branding and marketing. So the Downtown Odessa Inc. has done a stellar job so far at establishing a centralized group to kind of take charge of the branding and identity. And you've got the logo and the Eat, Play, Shop, Stay. All of that is a really great foundation. And so we're going to be recommending additional opportunities to expand that branding and marketing and to really help people identify like this is the group that is in charge of downtown, and that if I have ideas or if I want to help out, that I can go to them. So there's one kind of neat thing here I've got on this bullet. We kind of had this epiphany. So in this first session that we had with the public, one thing that we kept hearing about was parking. People felt like they weren't able to park close enough to their destination. And so, as we got talking over the course of the 3 days, we were kind of thinking, well, we did this parking study back in 2019, and there have been improvements since then. And, the consensus was kind of that maybe it's not an issue of parking supply and demand, and it's more of a cultural idea. And so I know at the last meeting, Craig mentioned, wanting to add a map in showing how far people are willing to walk in a Walmart parking lot versus maybe in downtown. And, one of the big solutions to that, it's a cultural thing, but it's also a wayfinding thing, and helping people once they're in their car, they want to find that parking spot as quickly as possible, and they want to get out of their car. But sometimes if you are going to downtown just for a singular reason, maybe to visit a singular restaurant or store or business, you can get frustrated because there isn't a parking spot directly in front of that business. And so one of the solutions that we kind of had an epiphany with over the course of the charrette was, what if downtown was the destination? And it wasn't an idea of, I'm going to this restaurant for dinner. It's, I'm going to downtown Odessa this evening. And that kind of helps solve some of those parking cultural issues, as well as establishing a sense of place. And so that was kind of where we got this main idea about the branding and marketing. And it feeds into the wayfinding, just to kind of call back to those main 6 ideas. All of these ideas really work together. You can kind of divide them up into separate sections, but all of them really work off of each other and to serve that central purpose. So anyways, branding and marketing is kind of a more overarching recommendation, but it's super important to helping all the other issues in downtown. So that next major takeaway, the cultural and art integration, like I mentioned, we had a really great discussion with Odessa Arts, and there was also some discussion over Odessa's recent designation as a music-friendly community, and basically how to embrace that and celebrate that in the future. And like I mentioned before, everything works together. So how can we work in that music-friendly community and the local artists into the culture and the branding and the marketing? How can we incorporate public art into streetscaping and to help establish that sense of place? So there's several ideas that we got from the Odessa Arts group. The downtown mural program and the artist incubator, those are both ideas that we're going to try to support in our final report and help make sure that those are lasting programs. So this next takeaway that we have is more centered around partnerships. So like I mentioned, that there are several groups in downtown right now that are all working to help revitalize the area. And so how can those groups be working together? What kind of communication practices are currently in place? And what are the ways that we can possibly improve that, just to make sure that we're maximizing our resources and really taking advantage of all of the awesome people that have volunteered their time so far. So, and that also includes hiring an executive director for Downtown Odessa Inc., which is an action item that is currently ongoing. The listing is out there, so this is, not necessarily a new idea, but what other, once that is that position is finally filled, what other action items can we recommend to even further that work and strengthen those partnerships? And so this final slide of takeaways here, this is kind of our main graphic that we've been working on. So if you were at our final presentation at the charrette, then this slide had basically like hand drawing, Sharpies, all the stuff that we had put together while on the field. So we've been able to work through those ideas and kind of create a more professional looking graphic. I apologize, I don't know what that sound is. So one of the main ideas was to reserve Jackson Avenue to be a possible festival street. And so that includes closing off the areas that are basically south of the new conference center. So one of the things that we definitely heard a lot of feedback on was that people like the current public spaces that exist, and how can we create new public spaces in the future that are programmable. So what other opportunities are there for public events? And so one of the ideas that came out of this charrette was the idea of a festival street or a public art corridor. And so, if you look on this graphic here, this slide, we show basically closing that off to street traffic while keeping 3rd and 4th Street open. But and then one of the other ideas that we'd love to see is those raised crossings along 3rd and 4th Street with some possible public art integration as well. So we were really excited about that idea. It seemed like people were really responding to that. There's several other ideas going on in here that we'll go in detail with in the final report. A couple of them here are converting some of the alleys to be more pedestrian-friendly plazas as well. The success of the convention center and the sense of place that it creates, along with the Ector Theater. How can we bring that farther, it closer to other destinations within downtown, and what other catalytic projects are going to be happening in the future. So we did hear from the OC and their future public space project that's going to be in that area as well. So we're really excited to see how that area develops and kind of present to you some more catalytic ideas to support that and keep the development going. So with that, that is basically the all of the summary takeaways that we had from the charrette. And so now just the next steps. We're in the final phase of this project, and so we've got a final recommendations report that we're currently working on, and we're estimating that to be ready to present at the end of October. And there was one idea that we had at this charrette workshop, which was to host kind of a presentation event and invite the public and really celebrate this new master plan update and these ideas, and to kind of gauge feedback. So those are the next steps for this project, and then we'll be all wrapped up, which is crazy. This project's been moving really fast, and we're really excited at all the progress and all the comments that we've seen. So so with that, I will go ahead and leave it open for any questions or comments from the board.
One question I've got, this is Toby, on I guess 4th and Jackson. We talked about that being parking. I noticed that it's not designated in that diagram as parking. I guess the concern being especially, and I love the idea of that walkway for Jackson, but that's probably at least 25 spaces, adjacent to like Torchy's and an area that's already congested. So was there a reason that wasn't designated parking?
I think that, some of the ideas that came out of this charrette, it wasn't necessarily that we were trying to, reverse any decisions that have been made. I think if there was a planned parking lot in any of those areas, it's possible that, it just wasn't communicated while we're in the charrette. So you said it was at 4th and Jackson. That's something that we could work into this plan here. This is all preliminary stuff. So did you mention which corner of 4th and Jackson? Talking about over by the USPS site?
That'd be, I think you're talking about 3rd. I guess it would be the, let's see,
Southeast
northwest,
corner.
southeast? Yeah.
Southeast corner?
Well, let's see.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make a note of that, and we'll make sure to show that on the final report.
Well, it's south of the hotel. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you put that map of downtown back up? That kind of way people know what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. That definitely wasn't an omission on purpose. So we'll make sure to incorporate that into this final plan.
Yes, I mean, just since it was getting rendered, that was my interest. I hated to miss the opportunity for that if we knew that was going to be parking.
Yes, absolutely. We want to definitely take advantage of that if that's currently in the works.
And I guess that's the block. And of course, it looks strange once you take out the street.
Yeah.
But it would, with the street there, that would be, the southwest corner?
That beats me.
Yeah. Well, it's rendered as a building that looks like an L.
Yeah, it's.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be the southeast.
There you go.
The street,
Yeah,
street
Yeah,
right here.
southeast,
It'd
yeah.
be
Isn't
southeast
that what
corner.
I said?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
No,
Southeast.
I think the visual's good because there's a lot of stuff on here that's not currently there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and definitely, I mean, one of the main reasons why, we felt like the update of the master plan, this is a good time for it, is all of the new projects that have come up since the previous master plan. So, the previous master plan anticipated the courthouse moving over to that side, and those plans have changed since then, and it's really exciting to see the OC show interest in that space and to possibly turn that into a public space with a programmable amphitheater and all of that. So we want to make sure that we are supporting any catalytic projects that are currently going and making sure that they have the support that they need from the board and any other groups. So sure. Are there any other comments or questions?
Few things that came out that kind of stuck in my mind through the process of the meetings and all. One, talk about because as I understand it, I wasn't able to attend that session, but the developer session, I don't think we got any participation at all in it, did we?
We did get some participation, but it wasn't the turnout that we were hoping for.
Okay. Housing in general was a lot of topic. And I know just kind of chit-chatty wise, I know a lot of us have had discussions about, kind of what it's going to take to be able to attract some residential development into the downtown area. I know, and maybe Don could speak to it at one point, the hospital district was looking at maybe building some medical type housing down there. I don't remember exactly where that was all going to happen, but that seems to be a major challenge going forward. Is how do we, how to incentivize some residential development down there, because we've got fairly high infrastructure cost potentially on something that's kind of a little bit of an unproven and new concept. So I don't know if Don can speak to that a little bit of what maybe, but housing in downtown seemed to be something that was pretty important moving forward, but I don't think we have any real, or at least I don't have any real concept of how that might be able to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things in the previous master plan that we're likely going to continue to support in the update is you mentioned the high cost of infrastructure in downtown. So the stormwater management plan, that's something that we are still going to keep as a major action item for the city, just because that is something that might be a little overdue. And so anything that the city can work towards to improve the stormwater management, that might help decrease the cost of infrastructure, as well as providing a more clear plan for developers, and it might encourage lower the barriers to development. The hospital site that you mentioned, the hospital housing, that is something I had a conversation with the gentleman from the hospital there, and he kind of pointed out some of the areas that they've been eyeing for that project. I believe their initial plan didn't work out because it was a parking lot that they realized that they need in order to meet the demand of parking in the hospital. So I do know that there's been talk about the library changing locations, and what's the future of that library building. I think there's multiple different interests as far as what that building could be used for, and that hospital housing was one of those communicated interests. So that's an opportunity that we might want to explore. And just a general theme as well that came out, I think, of our discussion was, when it comes to providing housing, it's not just about build it and they will come. A lot of it is kind of starting around those communities that have a high level of employment. So working with the hospital and getting that first housing project through is really, I think, going to help, draw people into living in downtown. There's also other draws that people are looking for when they're looking for a place to live, such as supporting commercial, like convenience stores or grocery stores. We didn't see a whole lot of those in downtown, so supporting commercial development like that will also be a strategy, I think, to help attract developers into seeing that as a possible housing location. So those are just a few ideas that we had around the discussion for housing. So we're looking forward to addressing that in the report as well. That was definitely an important theme to come out of the charrette. Absolutely.
We do
Yeah,
have a
I
developer.
almost wonder if we shouldn't, maybe consider forming some type of subcommittee or a little task force to look at and just trying to develop those housing ideas in the downtown area, because I think it's going to take some very concerted effort. And I think there are a lot of challenges, there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of entities involved. I don't see that as being as being something that's going to be easily solved, but I do think it's solvable.
Absolutely. I love that idea. Yeah. I just wrote it down so we can talk about that in the report. Thanks.
And you two aren't here, but will you turn your microphone on so they can?
I think mine's on.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's on or not, but we do have a developer ready to go, chomping at the bits, won't leave me alone, ready to go. The site that we were looking at was the site that's just south of the multi-level parking garage at the hospital, but that throws our parking out of kilter for the hospital. So
Is that on Golder and Second, or is that on
it's
the
on
next block up?
It's the corner of
Allegheny?
Golder and Second.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
yeah, okay.
And that was the first look, and yeah, we would love to look at the spot where the old library is when that becomes available. There's a couple of things we have to overcome, but that would be the best spot we could possibly have.
Yeah, this is Gary Johnson. I represent the college. Some things that we had talked about at the college, and it's going to be one of those partnerships that we're all talking about, that the college and possibly the hospital, maybe the school district, if we could get a developer to come in and guarantee the developer that, for example, those three entities would take half of the apartment complex, and with that, we could subsidize some of the rents of the employees, and that way, as long as they're an employee of the college or they're a student or whatever it might be, then that might give them some incentive to build something. If they know that they're going to have a complex that's going to be guaranteed 50% full, then so I think that's things that we need to work on, because the hospital needs nurses, the college, we're trying to get them nurses, those type of things. So we're all working this together, but I think there's some creative ideas like that we could come up with and say, tell a developer, that, hey, we're willing to guarantee that, you're going to have 50% of it rented out because the college and the school district and the hospital is going to take. I think that gives some incentive. If I'm a builder, I'm just going out there, I'm going to build on speculation, not knowing. Then I think as that happens, then maybe that encourages more people to fill those places up and those type of things.
So Gary, we actually have been through that process already and have guaranteed 200 slots for the builder. We're willing to write that letter. And in fact, Odessa Housing Corporation, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
What is that?
That's the housing finance,
Oh,
group,
okay.
Jill Miller.
So, yeah, Jill, they're willing to back up the guarantee. So, and that's 200 units, and absolutely, since the oncoming of the new nursing
Right.
program.
Well, you know,
upgrade,
and we need, I mean, right now,
gonna need-
our dorms are full. So
Sure.
we've got students, and that would bring younger people down. I
well,
mean,
Gary, this builder is willing
Yeah.
to build multiple units. He's
Good.
ready to go. And
something we need to
that's
look at.
all he wants is a guarantee.
So what does it look like for us to form a housing subcommittee? Is that something we can do? I mean, I know we can have subcommittees, but how do we go about that? Legal.
well,
Legal needs time to
Hey.
research questions like this that are complex. Legal can't answer these off the top of her head.
Forming a subcommittee. I'm not asking to answer the,
well, I think as chair, you can appoint a subcommittee of this organization to
Okay.
look at things. Yeah,
that's
so
what I'm
that's-
asking. I'm not
yeah.
asking for an answer.
Right,
If it's
no, and,
legal to guarantee 200
right,
apartments.
yeah, and then that way,
Um,
it just, it needs to be,
Let me know what you want. Yes.
Yes.
You can appoint a subcommittee.
I think Gary's right. I think Craig, as chair, we could just do that.
Okay.
You could do that.
Because I
And,
know housing is definitely an issue that we're going to need to tackle and figure out. So,
Housing settles a lot of problems.
yes. So I guess what I'm asking, what's the procedure? Do I ask for a motion to form a subcommittee? Do I say from now on there's a subcommittee?
you'd ask for a motion,
You ask for a motion to form a subcommittee.
Okay.
yeah.
Have somebody second it. Or
Okay.
ask for somebody to chair it.
Okay.
I'm all for the idea, but would it be prudent for us to go back, as you said, for legal to go check, to make sure we actually have the ability to do that?
We have the ability,
Or the
we have the
process of-
ability to do that you can form all types of subcommittees off your board, yeah.
So I would entertain a motion
I
to.
I have to think about this as a lawyer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
But does the scope of
Right.
the formation of this allow that to happen?
Right.
Of this committee of the TIRZ board allow that?
Do you have the bylaws in front of you?
No, that's why I'm asking. No. Right, so that goes to my point of maybe it's prudent for us to go back and look at that just to be certain. I'm all for the idea. I think it's a great idea. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great idea. But I don't want anything to come back to say we did something wrong and we have
Well,
to go back and do it again.
Think about it, we're not taking legal action, we're just looking at the committee to come up with
Now, there's-
ideas, and that same thing is, and then you come back, then if you have any particular recommendations, then you'd have to check with either legal or those types. We're just trying to say, what are the ideals, the
Yeah.
committee come back and try to get something rolling.
If we're not sure that we can do it, let's be sure. I think that's.
Well,
the
I'm
question.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in our bylaws that would prohibit us from just forming the subcommittee.
It's a
We have
subcommittee.
Yeah,
that ability in our bylaws to form a subcommittee.
You've heard my position on it, and that's not gonna change, but I think we should go back and look at it. But Chair, I defer to the chair on.
Well, I know
Suggest something? Can it be something maybe we research on and then put it on the agenda for next meeting?
that's what I was gonna.
Formulate a committee.
Let's look at this because I've got another one when we get to item 4 that I want to research as well. So let's keep that on the agenda for next time, and we can just have a generic subcommittee.
Kind of along those same lines is the other thing that came out that kind of got me a little bit excited, in addition to the OC project, which looks like it's chugging forward. And I think that's going to be a big project is the discussion that we had about, working with the county maybe to work with them to redo their front lawn areas, put a little new entrance on, kind of help handle some safety issues that we have down there with people crossing and things like that. That also, the county's also involved in the land behind the courthouse, which will be adjacent to the OC project. that too seems to be not to get a subcommittee to death, but it seems like we're gonna have to do some real work with the county in order to try to move those projects forward with the commissioner's court, and see if we can't build on the impetus that OC's giving us with their project, and see if we can't really get some of that done, because I think that would be a huge visual boost to the Grant Street area if we could kind of refresh the courthouse facade and maybe do some things and use their lawn area for a lot more attractive use than what it is right now, which is a somewhat marginally kept lawn. But there's a lot going on with the county, with the library, with the property that lies behind. I really think we're going to have to, kind of work, because the county's the only entity that's not a part of the TIRZ, so they don't have a representative on the TIRZ. But maybe we can form some alliance with the commissioner's court and really try to drive forward some of those initiatives.
Yeah, absolutely. The discussion that we had on Grant Street on the third day, we really felt like, we got just like a big map out, and there were so many ideas that we were able to map out, and some of them are shown on here, so that the updated plaza in front of the courthouse, it's very minimal detail, but we did make sure to show that on here in this graphic, and that is something that we're also excited to pursue as well, because we think that would help reactivate that area. So, and we also, heard the feedback on the crossings and maybe taking away that mid-block crossing, since it conflicts with that intersection and the traffic there. So, awesome. Were there any other questions or comments for me at this time?
Are we doing anything going forward to get some builders or like type people interested?
So I think the hope is with the presentation of the final plan, it will give us some investment packages to put out.
Okay.
I know that that's what we had discussed, and how to get those ideas posted to the RFQ people, the RFP Society. I don't know where they go. There was a name. There were two things that y'all talked about that's where these things get posted in order to drum up some interest. And I know that Michael had discussed that with them. What are they called?
RFPs.
Well, I know that, but where you put them? Well, no, there was a place that, like a society of RFP people. I don't know. But where you would post those requests so that people who do these things see them. Not our website, beyond that. So yes, that was talked about. How to create some packages, investment packages, to sell this stuff outside of our little four walls. Any other questions on master plan update? You said y'all were going to have something ready for us end of month?
End of month, that's right.
And so if we were to plan or want to plan an event to present that, I guess that's up to us to talk about.
Yeah, so we talked about that at the shred, and so I'm assuming that everyone's still on board for that kind of event. I know we were talking about maybe even having it at the Ector Theater, if that's still a possibility. I can pull up Jeff and I's schedule.
Yeah, and for those of us who weren't there, what we had talked about is having, I don't know if any of y'all went to the Priority Midland launch, where they had it out at the Wagner and invited all the stakeholders, and there was a ton of people there, and gave this great presentation about here's what we're trying to do here to really kind of get people on board with it. And the conversation was about how to present this plan update to the community in the same kind of way where there's some excitement and momentum behind the plan and its projects, and how do we really get the community who's been involved with this. I mean, we had 191 responses. How do we reach these beyond that to say, look, here's something to be excited about. The Ector was brought up as one of the venues in which to host such a party. It would be, I believe we discussed that it would be presented to council and approved first, and then we would go on to do the big hurrah, just to give them kind of honors on seeing it first. So does anybody have any ideas about that? Any thoughts on that? Okay, so we call Reese and say, hey, here's what we want to do. I mean, I guess I'm in charge of that. I don't know. Launch party? Okay, Alexa has volunteered to serve on the event launch committee. Oh, sorry, no, it's not a subcommittee.
I think that's something too. We can absolutely support the planning of that, and maybe that includes maybe a meeting toward the end of the month once we're closer to the final report, and we can go through what kinds of things that we can bring to present.
Yes.
If we want to bring posters or any kind of materials, probably printed versions of the report. So we can go through later on this month and maybe have a touch base meeting to talk about ways that Jeff and I can support that.
I will make a note to get a hold of you, and we can discuss that, and I guess have that as an agenda item next time.
Perfect.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much for your hard work and being out here and listening to all our crazy ideas and getting them compiled into one book that we can use to go forward. I'm excited about getting the results.
Absolutely. And yeah, thank you guys for letting us come in. Those 3 days was a really productive time. We really were happy with the amount of feedback that we received. And so we'll be in touch soon. And thanks again for the time today.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
All right. Moving on, downtown Odessa. Alexa. Very good.
So just a quick update on what's going on downtown. There's actually quite a few different grant programs or grant consultations that we've done in the past couple weeks. So we're up to about between what's in progress, needing to be reimbursed, all the way to the awaiting paperwork stage. We have 11 different people, 11 different properties that are applying for grants, either just one, facade or infrastructure, or both for some of them. So quite a bit in the works. The newest ones being, I know one that you guys had interested in was Clover House, and the new purchaser is, coming for information to do infrastructure and facade on that one once the sale goes through. The sale is set to close within the next couple weeks, and then they're looking to move forward.
And that's the green one, not the...
Yes. Clover House, the green one, yep, on Texas.
Okay.
So that's one of the newer interested parties that we've been approached by. Otherwise, as far as the downtown update goes, we're getting back into the full swing of events, going back to doing things in person, not just virtually. We are having some hybrid type events, like for Halloween, we're doing a virtual scavenger hunt for 8 days leading into a big in-person event on the 30th. So a little bit of both, a little bit of virtual if you want to still do that with your family, if that's the route that you feel more comfortable going. And then if you want to do something in person, then there's also that option for you on the 30th of doing trunk or treat and a movie in the park with heaters and popcorn and all that good stuff out there. So then moving into the later part of the year, we're looking to do quite a few things for the holiday season. Everything from the Parade of Lights coming back We took 2020 off, obviously, due to COVID, but it's back for 2021. I know people are very excited about that. It's going to be the first Saturday in December, which is December 4th. Going along with that to kind of retain people's interest in the downtown area and, you know, get them out here earlier and keep them later. We're looking to do a street market and kind of event in tandem with the parade. For the first time ever, as you know, a lot of people come down here and save their seats and then kind of wander around and watch the parade. Then there's this mass exodus, and it really doesn't need to be that way. So we're trying to give them some entertainment options before and after to really enhance that day and make it a really great community day of fun, centered right here in downtown on Grant Avenue. The third weekend of the month, the 18th, where it's going to be a similar type of setup with our teddy bear tea in the morning, followed by an afternoon market and children's type street fair. It's going to be your last weekend right before the holidays, so people getting the last minute shopping in. We want to have a lot of really great local vendors where people can shop local, shop small, get all of their little stocking stuffers and other gifts that they may need for the holidays before they start going out of town to visit family and whatnot. Then our last event of the year will be on New Year's Eve. Very similar to what we did in 2019. It's a fundraiser for Downtown Odessa Inc. And the first one that we've had in a little over 2 years at this point due to COVID and all the assorted mischief that's gone along with that. So dinner and a comedy show, music, DJ, complimentary champagne toast at midnight, all that fun stuff. It was a sellout event in 2019, and we're looking for it to be so again here in 2021.
Magician?
A magician? Maybe.
I'm kidding.
I could pull a rabbit out of a hat.
Bring that monkey.
Yeah.
Everyone likes that.
Are there any questions about anything going on downtown that you guys have in particular that you would like me to elaborate on? If
Just
it's
one
something
question. You mentioned the around the Christmas parade, a market or something. Where's that? Where you look at having that?
So the parade itself is held on Grant, and it comes down Grant and then turns to the west. So we were looking to have it on the east side so that all parade operations wouldn't need to be shifted at all. The parade could operate as it always has been. So we were looking at Texas Avenue just because it's such a wide street. If we have a plethora of vendors that would like to set up, or any community members that want to set up booths or anything like that, it would give us plenty of space in order to do so. The footprint that we're looking at is from 3rd over to 5th on Texas.
Well, my thought is, I mean, that's fine. Just if you could have it possibly, to me, closer to the parade route, even though it's a block. I mean, I don't know if it could be maybe vendors maybe on 3rd and 4th Street or something like that. That way the parade goes right. People would still be at the market and they can walk over and watch the parade.
Exactly, yes.
That type of deal. So
yeah, and I think that would be great. And that's, that passageway that's right at 5th there, where right now it's the old JCPenney lot and the old Norma's lot. I'm sorry, Craig, I said the N-word. But he's very sad about Norma's, if you didn't know.
I missed my diner, my breakfast.
Yeah. That's always a space that we like to utilize, just because there's a lot of space if we need to set something up, off the open street, like our food trucks or children's activities that maybe the vendors may need an extra time to take up before we take up vendors. We like to utilize that space, and that would be a great passageway between Grant and Texas, is to utilize that 5th Street corridor.
I think just anything to encourage people to participate in both. If you have the market 3 or 4 blocks off, they do that and they leave. Possibly.
Well, it's just a block over on Texas.
Yeah, I know.
So with Grant closed and Texas closed, essentially 3rd, 4th, and 5th would be closed-ish.
Kind of.
We're working with the hotel because there's a bunch of Christmas parties that night, so that we don't block that off. But it would leave those. I mean, it would butt right up to the parade route with some of those
That's fine.
vendors
because
And I know Sewell had extended an offer to email their farmers market vendors, and I think they've got like 160 vendors that work with that. And I know the hospital had been open and sharing with their list, so it's got some potential to get some people in. We're also working on an event at the Copper Rose, so to max keep people here. That's. We
also have one more very passive idea that we're still working on. I'm not quite ready to elaborate, but it would be a very great family experience for people to come downtown and participate in on their own time. No ice skating rink this year, unfortunately, but this would be in lieu of the ice skating rink. Something that's just passively programmed to bring families downtown at their own leisure over the course of the month. And I think that it would be very cute and very well adored by the community. So once we know a little bit more and have that a little bit more in place, I'd be happy to elaborate.
I love the idea of the whole market at the parade time. I think that'd be a great hit.
Yeah, and I mean, there's just so many people that come out here. If you've ever been to the parade on Grant Street especially, you see that it's 4 or 5 people deep at any point in Grant. So if even a quarter of those people go to see these vendors, then we're going to support a lot of really great local vendors and merchants and things like that. People will be able to shop small, which is very important, and it gives them something to do, because otherwise they're just sitting there saving their spot ready for that parade to roll. But here, put your chairs there, save your spot, but go shop.
The thing that's good about it is that they can come before the parade, but also go after the parade.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because the parade, you know, is generally over with by, well, 7 or 8, depending on where you're sitting, but, you know, and then after the parade, they can go and do whatever they need to do. So it's good.
Lex, I know you said y'all were doing a scavenger hunt to leading up to the 30th. What's happening on the 30th, specifically, and where?
So on the 30th, we're going to do a large trunk or treat on 4th Street from Lee all the way to Sam Houston. Not blocking Sam Houston, obviously, because of the maternity hospital right there. We want to make sure that people are having babies, they can have their babies unimpeded. But there'll be
Grab some candy on the way to the hospital.
yeah. If you know, labor's hard. You know. But there'll be vendors and businesses that'll be able to come out and trunk or treat. There's going to be a competition between those businesses for the best decorated trunk tent area. We're going to have activities in Noel Heritage Plaza, because that's all right in front of Noel Heritage Plaza. There'll be some live music and a DJ throughout the night, and then starting at 8 p.m. as the sun is starting to go down, we're going to show a family-friendly holiday movie, Halloween movie. There's also going to be quite a few other things going on that night that I think are just going to add, and it's really going to make downtown the destination for Halloween, and especially on the 30th itself. And there's going to be a parade that day. There's going to be a Dia de los Muertos event going on downtown that same day at the same time. A lot of the churches are doing trunk or treats, and it's all kind of within the same time frame. So I think that a lot of people are going to come and just, you know, trunk or treat hop, and that's going to be a really great evening for all things downtown and all the entities. I don't think that any of it's competing, just because people are used to going house to house. So here you're just going building to building. You know what I mean? It's going to be great. Any other questions or anything I can answer?
You have any sort of update on a director search?
There were a few interviews while I was out of the office, and from what I've been told, one of them was actually quite promising. So I think that there's going to be some further talks with that candidate, so hopefully sooner rather than later. We've also opened up the admin position and held a few interviews already, with 2 more going on next week. So hopefully we will be fully staffed, you know, sooner rather than later.
Hooray.
Yeah.
Any other downtown DOI questions? No, thank you.
Thank you,
Again,
guys.
thank you for all that you do. I don't think anybody realizes how hard you work. All right, number 4. So this is something I asked to be added after the 3 days of our planning, and seeing who was involved and who was not involved, and who was there and who should have been there. And after one of the discussions, we sat down and kind of counted up. I think we got to about 10 entities between, you know, the participating TIRZ members, the DOI board, the TIRZ board, the hospitals, the city, the county, the library, the business owners, and that there is no mechanism or nothing happening to get us all together to talk about what we're doing. And something I know Monica mentioned was that was a piece of that plan update, to figure out how do we
do these things, how do we get together, you know, say once a quarter to have all of us sitting down and visiting with each other about what our projects are, this housing project that OC and Medical Center could do, to come together to bring those ideas, just kind of a roundtable discussion. So I wanted to put that on here to figure out, to start a discussion about how do we do that? How do we facilitate that? Who needs to be in charge of that? I know that when DOI hires a director, I think that this could be something that we could hand to that person and say, here's what we've already got going. How do we continue this conversation so that we're not duplicating, so that the TIRZ board and the DOI board, you know, we're all moving in the same direction, but we're not talking to each other. So I want to figure out, what do we need to do? Again, kind of back to the subcommittee discussion. Is that something that would be an appropriate subcommittee of the TIRZ to bring the stakeholders together for some sort of meeting once a quarter, so that we are all on the same page and we're all working towards the same goal, which I think we are. My opinion is we are all going to be much better together. And if we are aware of the projects we're working on and the advances we're making and the things that we're all working on, it just, that's going to produce a better outcome. So I don't know quite beyond just kind of giving that spiel what needs to happen on that. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? I know I've visited with several of you about this, and you know, looking out in the audience, several of you on that. I know that there's been talk of needing a downtown business alliance. You know, how do we bring all of these people together into one so that we're all moving forward together?
Well, in my opinion, we could concentrate with all the stakeholders in each one's venue one time. Like we could go to Texas Tech's meeting rooms over in their new building. Of course,
Hey, Don, can you turn on your mic? I can't hear Don.
Is it on now? Is it on?
Barely hear you.
Okay. Well, if you know, we could use Texas Tech's room. We've got rooms at the hospital that we can use. We could take it to the Marriott one time. We could do something with one of the city buildings. I mean, rotate it to get everybody involved so that everybody's got a stake in, and just swap around.
Yeah.
But something that we could put on paper to get that movement happening.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Craig, do you think maybe a starting point would be we could possibly use the members of the Chamber of Commerce who in this area to get them for that first meeting and say, this is what we want to do, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully that'd be a good start. I mean, I don't know. And then they might know people from there that you reach out from that standpoint.
And I visited with Renee about this, and she's on board, and Discover Odessa needs to be part of it. But it's just I mean, is this something that's informal that is another project that, you know, I'm just going to take on and make this? Is this something that needs to be a part of the TIRZ board? Since we do have several, you know, representatives of these bodies here, that's what I don't know, and I don't know what it looks like, and you know, is it something that?
I think really the first opportunity to do this would be when we have that presentation of the master plan.
And that's exactly where the conversation started.
Yeah, that's where, you know, we can, you know, whoever those people are, because have all those people there and say, this is this is what we're looking at. We need your input. Let's move forward. And then from there, maybe some type of stakeholder meetings can be set up so that you know, the hospital and the college, they're represented at every one of these meetings, so you can get our input. But there's others, so that might be the first opportunity to really, you know, get an invitation out to these folks. So like I said, whether you start with the Chamber of Commerce members, I don't know, or every business is within the downtown thing ought to get one. I don't know how that would work, but I think that'd be the first opportunity to present, because we just have a stakeholder meeting. They're gonna say, well, what are we looking at? Well, here's kind of.
Yeah.
So if you have that presentation, say, you know, this is what we're moving forward with. What are your thoughts? And they'll probably give you your thoughts.
And I agree, and that was part of the discussion with Kimley Horn for that launch
Hey,
event.
Greg, I think of all the groups, probably we're the only ones that would be subject to OMA. So I would just really suggest, because I'd like to see the whole TIRZ board and participate in that. The only way we can do that is post the meeting, which is no big deal. But if we would just set aside, you know, and have basically a TIRZ posted meeting once a quarter or whatever, wherever we have it, invite everybody to it and let it be that open discussion. That way we're meeting the requirements that we've got to legally, but it would give us a pretty far ranging platform to just talk about stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm curious about is how do we do this and follow the rules and make sure that we're not having meetings we're not supposed to be having.
I don't think it can be.
I think as long as we post it, we'd be good.
I don't think we can. I don't think we should be necessarily a TIRZ meeting, because the reality is we're dealing with government with TIRZ, and government runs slow. And when we're dealing with private entities and other things, we can move a lot quicker and do some other things so maybe if we have a representative or a couple of representatives from TIRZ on that, or maybe that's interchangeable for meetings, I think that might be a better solution than trying to make sure that we do it. And I think your suggestion is great. I thought your suggestion is great as well. I mean, I don't think there's a bad suggestion. I just think that we don't want to bog it down with the government.
Yeah.
Well, but if you're gonna have, if a majority of us are gonna be there, you have to post it.
No, absolutely. That's what I mean. If we're calling it a formal TIRZ meeting, we do have to. Absolutely, there's no question about it. I think that's the question: is that what we're going to call it? Or we're going to call it the stakeholders meeting of as I think you threw out the name of Downtown Coalition or something like that. That's made up of representatives. I think that's probably the difference.
Well, I don't necessarily think we have to have a group. I just think that the first opportunity is be when they present that plan. And that's gonna be posted as a TIRZ meeting anyway.
Yes.
And that would be an opportunity to say the TIRZ will be meeting to roll out the future plan or whatever we're gonna call it, where it's gonna be, and have all these people invited. And then that'd be the opportunity to, we posted the meeting, everything's legal, and then we get the feedback that we need. Then after that, if we need to have different things, and we can set those up, or we can either post a meeting, or as Gavin said, well, we just have one or two of us go to these different meetings, whatever it might be. But to say legal, but I think the first one, like I said, when we have that rollout of the plan, that'd be the opportunity. You post it as a meeting anyway, because it's going to be a meeting, because it's the board.
Well, and ultimately, I think it's something that is handed off to DOI as the keeper of the downtown. My thought is just to let's have something. We don't need to sit and wait for them to hire a director.
No.
And it sounds like we're going to be able to have this launch event before. Even if you do hire someone tomorrow, it's something that we can kind of work together with. And again, it could just be something that we personally are doing off the meeting here. But again, I think there's something that needs to be done, and I don't know who needs to do it. And usually when I have ideas like that, it's me that needs to do it.
I think it's necessary, and
You're very good at it. Come on.
sharing with, I think sometimes we come to this meetings and I've left and I've shared with you, like, it seems like everything we're doing is duplicative.
Yes.
There's other things so I think a meeting like that where all the stakeholders are on board and we know what's going on, I think we can move
Okay.
pretty quickly and do good work.
Well, again, I just wanted to kind of have the initial discussion. I know at the next meeting, we'll talk a little more about subcommittees, and I'll have some discussions between now and then to figure out what this kind of looks like as a formal body entity. I don't think it needs to be an entity, but a formal thing that we can move forward with.
Would the goal be though to put it under DOI, essentially?
So yes, I think that's where it belongs.
Yeah, because they're going to be the ones dealing with the
They're
downtown
going to be.
people.
I
yeah.
mean, y'all are the
That's
keepers
where
of
it ought to be,
downtown.
yeah.
So to whatever it looks like to create the Downtown Business Alliance and the stakeholders with the taxing entities and how do you get representatives from, all the business owners in downtown, and not get bogged down in, to make it look like the water plant meeting where we got to sit here for 3 hours. And so I mean, again, I think there's some further questions I need to get answered, but I just wanted to go ahead and propose that, bring it up. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know if it's a function of this board or not, but it's definitely something we want to be involved in when it does happen.
Well, we can be the leader to get initiated. Eventually, it'd be something that somebody else would probably monitor from that standpoint. But I mean, you got to have somebody to get it started. So,
John, when is y'all's next board meeting?
On Tuesday.
What is today? I don't even know.
Today is
Wednesday.
Can I get on that agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I sent it out tomorrow, so you're in time.
Okay. So I'll go talk to the DOI board and see what they think about it, and we'll go from there. See if they like us creating work for them. Any other questions on that? All right. The call for future agenda items. Is there anything y'all want to talk about in the next meeting that?
That's the housing committee is what.
Yeah, so I've got subcommittees on there and county input. If we want to have a county representative, because I'm assuming you're not here on behalf of the county.
Not officially.
So if we want to reach out to the county to have,
I mean, they could put me on here officially, but not right now.
they got to give us money first.
Yeah. That's what I mean. They could give y'all money.
Yeah, they could. I've been trying. So who do we want to hear from the county? Did I just make that up?
Or at this particular meeting, at the TIRZ meeting? Or
Yeah,
at
because
the committee
I'll,
meeting?
I'll be glad to reach out to Judge Hayes and see
yeah,
what we might do there.
need some kind of some input from them, what they're looking at, those type of things. I mean, we just need
Yeah,
to,
I'll be glad to make that call.
okay. Yeah, just on the agenda be a discussion with county concerning whatever it might be as far as the agenda, but we just need to get their input or what they're looking at, or you hear all kinds of things moving out there,
Yeah.
saying here remodeling. We just need to kind of see what
Okay.
the input is.
So a downtown update from the county.
Yeah, be good. Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll do a subcommittee update for us. Anything else?
Did you want to put on anything for the release party of the master plan? You want to talk about that at the next meeting?
Yeah, probably do.
Yeah, we need to have that
Yeah.
on there.
Release. Yeah.
Launch event.
Yeah.
Is that something that I should plan to attend as well, since we're discussing?
If you don't mind, since you'll be able to offer up what kind of presentations and marketing you'll be able to help with.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, if you just want to forward me the invite, I can make sure that either Jeff or I are there.
Okay. Anything else? Any public comment? Anybody from the public want to? John, you're the only one here. Steve, back there hanging pictures. All right, well, we're done. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yeah.
Whatever, what's already there should be.
Yeah.